Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I hope you are doing very, very well today. So now we are still in the month of July 2019. So we are still in the midst of the Barnes & Noble Criterion Collection sale, where most of the items in the Criterion Collection as sold through Barnes & Noble stores or through Barnes & Noble's website are being sold on sale for 50% off, which is a very big deal because these Criterion titles ain't cheap. So what I've been doing over the course of the last week or so is just going through some pockets, some areas of the Criterion Collection that might be of interest to some of you out there if you're looking for some titles that maybe you're interested in purchasing, who knows. But again, these are just some suggestions because the Criterion Collection is so vast and so varied that it's really interesting to look at what's available, and hopefully it might give you some ideas if you're looking for any ideas as to what to get in the Barnes & Noble Criterion sale going forward. You still have a few weeks left. So anyway, what I'd like to do is talk to you about the films of this particular filmmaker. The filmmaker that I have the very great honor and privilege and pleasure to talk to you about today, albeit very briefly, is the filmmaker who directed this film, The Spirit of the Beehive, and who directed this film, El Sur. And the filmmaker's name is Victor Erice. Victor Erice, Spanish filmmaker. And his output, his filmography, is relatively small compared to many other filmmakers who are represented in the Criterion Collection. But don't let that fool you, because despite his small, relatively small filmography output, what he has produced and what he has made, and two of which are available on physical media releases in the Criterion Collection, as you can see here, what he has done is he has created what could be among the greatest films ever made. And so that's no small feat, but it's sort of a testament to the craftsmanship and care and dedication to art that Victor Erice truly understands and appreciates. It is a testament to his own genius and his sensitivity towards trying to find some kind of truth and honesty and a kind of emotional realism, if you will, in the context of lovely, picturesque views, landscapes, metaphors, poetry in motion. These sorts of things come together in a beautiful, sometimes devastating, poetic manner that could be described as dreamlike. I don't know. It's possible, but perhaps a better description would be to call them visual poems with cores of humanity and emotional truth. So that is, in essence, how I feel about the works of Victor Erice. So when you're talking about the works of Victor Erice, we've got, again, these two films by him in the Criterion Collection. The first is here, Spine number 351. This is from 1973. This is The Spirit of the Beehive. Now, this is a DVD release now. It's not a Blu-ray as of now, so I don't know what the plans are for Criterion, if there are any. I don't know if this is available on the Criterion channel. If it is, please let me know. But in any event, as a physical media release from the Criterion Collection, this is a DVD-only title. It is also one of the most powerful films you will ever see in the Criterion Collection. It is one of the most beautiful films. So how can we say this? It is one of the most beautifully powerful films, or it is one of the most powerfully beautiful films, your pick, in the Criterion Collection. In any event, my friends, this is an emotionally rich, deep, sometimes quite brutal or devastating work that really goes for it all. It has aspects that I think are universal in terms of approaches towards childhood, towards that moment in one's childhood where things are innocent and confused. It also goes towards relationships, familial relationships, sibling relationships. It also talks about this idea of innocence versus corruption, truth versus lies, fantasy versus reality. So these are sort of universal themes, or when I say universal, I mean themes that I think can be approached by I think anyone, or almost anyone, because they are very broad and they are shared universally. But at the same time, this is, I think, very intimately tied to the history of Spain as it's being painted within the cinematic universe, the landscape that is presented within this universe here. So when we're watching this film, we have to keep in mind the context of Spanish history in the 1960s and the 1970s, but also the implications of the earlier Spanish Civil War and the outcomes thereof, and the consequences thereof. So we have to keep this in mind when we watch this film, because it forms an inextricable link between past and present, between what's real and what is fantasy, and between what is truth and what is lies. So this is all, I think, embodied in this cinematic, poetic masterwork of a film. Spirit of the Beehive, Spine number 351, DVD only, but so worth it, from 1973, for your consideration. Then comes the film from 1983, Spine number 927. This is El Sur. El Sur is one of those films that once you see it, you will never forget it. It's a film that I think has the potential of touching just about anyone who sees it. I think it will affect just about anyone who sees it. It is that emotionally arresting and captivating, and it is so hopeful and also so disappointing. And when I say disappointing, I mean devastating as an emotional experience, but certainly not disappointing as a film. On the contrary, the film is one of those great films. It's one of the greatest films in the Criterion Collection, because it just goes at the very essence of parents and children, in particular fathers and daughters, this idea of myth, this idea of fantasy, this idea of the myth of the hero and hero worship, and how that is so innocently applied when one is a child growing up, and how we are so in need of father figures in our lives to provide a kind of life structure to us. And then as we grow older, how that life structure seems to disintegrate or to fall apart, but it seems to turn into something completely and wholly different. And thus begins the exploration from adolescence into adulthood. Thus begins the exploration from disappointment into curiosity. And thus begins the exploration from a sense of childlike wonder to an appreciation of the hard truths of reality in the grown-up world. And there is so much more to this film. That's only scratching the surface, because this film is rich, so rich, doubly, triply, quadruply rich, and then some. This film is one of the greatest films in the Criterion collection, El Sur. If you have not seen El Sur, please, 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 I would consider it a great, great honor if you would watch this film. El Sur is just, I'm just thinking about some of those images and some of the scenes, and it's emotional just to even think about it. So anyway, El Sur, this is another example of a great work from the great artist Victor Erice. And this film is so complicated in terms not only of its story and its narrative and its themes, but also its production. This is just so complex and so dramatic. Just watch this film and also get the Blu-ray so you can enjoy the supplements and really get a sense of what the story is and what it could have been and what it ended up being. And just, it's something that you can judge for yourselves. But it's such a fascinating work in many respects. El Sur from 1983. Again, this is spine number 927 for your consideration. Okay, my friends, that's it for now. So these are the two works directed by Victor Erice, the Spanish filmmaker. Very, very important Spanish filmmaker. Very, very important filmmaker, period. And so if you are interested, again, for your consideration, these two works, hopefully you can find them during the sale, maybe at your local Barnes & Noble store or through the Barnes & Noble website. So I strongly encourage you to consider The Spirit of the Beehive and El Sur. And also, if you are okay with it, I'd love to hear what titles you have received during the Barnes & Noble sale, or what you plan to purchase. Please feel free to leave a comment here or comment in another video. I would love to hear what it is you have to say. And for those of you who are new subscribers to this channel, thank you very much for subscribing. It's really nice to meet you. My name is Daisuke, and hopefully we can talk very soon. And then for those of you who are watching but who haven't subscribed to this channel yet, it would be so wonderful if you wouldn't mind subscribing to this channel and leaving comments on this video or other videos. It would be my pleasure to be able to talk with you and discuss cinema with you, and to hear your thoughts and comments and recommendations about this thing that we all love, which is cinema. So please feel free to join us anytime. Please subscribe and leave comments below. And for everyone else, my dear, dear friends, thank you so much, as always, for your kindness and generosity and support. Thank you so much. So, until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please, please, please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. So until we meet again, my friends, cheers.